So, I know what's been happening to you lately. You've been forgetting where you put your keys. You can't remember the name of that guy at school the kid in primary school. I used to know him well. That movie you saw last week, the title of the movie is gone. And the actor, what was his name again? That guy, I've seen him in a few before. I hear you. And look, there is, well, apparently a normal cognitive decline that we can expect, an age-related decline, cognitive decline they call it. But you're probably wondering, am I starting to slide into dementia? What's happening here? Do I need to worry? Well, let's talk about the things that science is telling us that can stave off dementia, that can at least delay it, if not stop it. And they are lifestyle things that we have some control over. So what do we have control over? What's science telling us that is good for us, good for our brain, and good for our lifestyle? One, big one is, and it's probably be no surprise, exercise. The research is absolutely clear on this. When we exercise, we do a number of things. A couple of the important things is that we improve our VO2 max. What's that? It's really the efficiency with which our body uses oxygen, how we take it in and then how we disseminate it around the body and how we use it, how we uptake it and use it profitably. So that's really important. The other thing that's really important is that we build and maintain muscle mass. Now, we all know that probably we aren't like The Rock, we aren't the muscle men that we were when we were younger, or muscle women. Why? Because we are hormonally driven, both men and women, particularly women, to lose muscle at the rate of about 1% a year after the age of 30. So that could mean, unless you do something to inhibit that process, you could have lost 40% of your muscle mass by the time you get to 70. That's a big concern. Muscle is an organ. Muscle actually facilitates a number of processes and hormones around the body. So muscle is really important. One of the important things it does is it stimulates the action or the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is a growth factor. Now, the importance of this growth factor, BDNF, is that it stimulates the brain not only to produce, in some parts of the brain, new neurons, we call that neurogenesis, but in the larger part of the brain, it actually produces or stimulates more connections between neurons, the brain cells. Now that's really important. Each neuron has the capacity to make connection with between 20 and 40,000 other neurons. That is amazing. And this forms the basis of the whole new science of brain plasticity. The fact that we can change, modify, and make new connections within the brain. So a brain that's been damaged can heal over time or is stimulated that way purely by the brain making new connections to, if you like, bypass damaged parts. So that's really, really important. So exercise, really important for your brain health, maintaining those neurons, and then stimulating new neural connections and new brain cells to actually be produced. Now, the other thing that we want to look at is social connection. I know the Surgeon General in the States recently brought out a whole thing about loneliness, how loneliness now has a higher rating than smoking and obesity in terms of shortening your life from all-cause mortality. That's astounding. That loneliness and emotional state can actually be of more danger to you dying than smoking and being overweight. But that's the reality. And what happens to us as we tend to get older, one is we stop moving. The other thing that can happen is we start to get more socially isolated. This is bad news. If you are finding that yourself spending more time perched on your bum watching the screen than you are out and about, either doing exercise, moving, seeing people, and making new social connections, and even maintaining and building old social connections, then you are putting yourself in a position where the demon, the dementia, can grab a hold of you. You've got to stimulate your brain with social connection. We're herd animals. We are meant to be connected. We're designed that way, aren't we? We all know that. Family and friends, they're so integral to a life of joy and happiness and experiences. So I would really firmly advise that you start to build your social connections. The third one, new learning. Why is it that as we get older, we stop exercising, we get socially isolated, and then we stop learning stuff? We stop stimulating our brain. Our brains are designed to grow, to change, and the stimulant for that, as we've discussed, is exercise, connection. But if we provide the stimulus for those new connections, but there's nothing for the brain to connect about, then you lose those connections. It's a process called pruning, where you both lose connections and ultimately you lose brain cells themselves. You lose neurons. We get pruned all our life. In fact, we start with 100 billion neurons and they get pruned off. And I've probably got about 80 billion left. So it behoves us to keep stimulating our brain, so it keeps wanting, needing, having to make new connections. And that's where new learnings come in. And this is not petty learnings. This is stuff that really challenges you, like a new language, like learning a musical instrument, like doing different things and doing things differently. All that sort of does is it inspires the brain or challenges the brain to make new connections. When you're doing exercise, say you're building muscle, you have to challenge that muscle to get improved strength and bulk. If you don't challenge the muscle, it's quite happy doing what it's doing and staying at its current strength and size. Thank you very much. So you want to stimulate it by challenging it. You've got to stimulate your brain by challenging it. So what is this saying to you? Where are you in your walk currently in your life? If you need to work on one of these things, great. But if you need to work on all three, then I challenge you in this next month to step out. There was a great study done out of Leicester Uni in the UK only last year or the year before, where they had been looking at a population of about almost 400,000 people over a 12-year period. But 22,000 people in that study died over that time. And the study was looking at various things, particularly in terms of health and well-being. One of the study conclusions was that people who were brisk walkers in the study had a 71% less chance of developing dementia. So when I say step out, walk out your front door, and for starters, just walk down the street and back. And do that for a week. And then walk around the block and back. Do that for a week. And then go down the shops and back. Do that for another week until you start to build up your ability to challenge your body from a VO2 max perspective. Now, there was another study that showed a very similar effect by doing muscle strength work, by doing resistance work, by doing weights work. So this combination of improving your aerobic and anaerobic ability had a profound effect on the health of your brain. So I challenge you to get out there and meet people and talk to people and make a few phone calls and really make connection, because that's such an important stimulus for your brain as well. And don't forget, challenge yourself to some new learning. Let's face it, you can go online today and learn anything you want. Just put it in Google. So there's so much stuff, and there's so much free stuff out there on YouTube or whatever. You can get great stimulus in terms of learning new stuff. So I challenge you, put those 3 things into effect, and you are going to have a much better chance of staving off the demon dementia. Catch you later. If you like this, don't forget to buy me a coffee, probably a link in the comments below, or you can go to my website, Greg Diamond Speaks, and be happy to hear from you. And if you want me to speak at your event, that's pretty great as well. Otherwise, like and share. See you later.